There is increasing pressure on Bola Tinubu to reverse some of his policies, all the liberal policies from IMF, World Bank, that they never work in Nigeria. This time it is Adams Oshomole in a lecture. He used China as an example, that they also attend IMF and World Bank meetings, but after all the meetings they go back to China and implement policies that work for them. As huge as China is, they've never floated their currency. No. They fix the currency at a rate that suits them, that works for their economy. Their economy is export-oriented, so they fix it the way it favors their country. But in Nigeria, they implement wholesale all the policy suggestions by IMF and the World Bank. They never work in Nigeria. And for Adams Oshomole to say this in a lecture shows the deep resentment that is building up even inside the APC. Yes, many of them have been talking hush-hush, but now they are coming open. They are making it clear that all these policies are just meant to suffer Nigerians unnecessarily. The bombshell schooling by Adams Oshomole, of course you will hear that in a moment. Peter Obi has been saying this all along, even before the presidential election campaigns. He has been using China and most Asian countries as an example that Nigeria can emulate and become prosperous like they have achieved. This is very simple. Why do Nigerian leaders always want to implement wholesale the suggestion of other countries? These countries do not implement this kind of policies in their own country. In fact, most of their policy suggestions, that's talking about the IMF, are frowned at in many Western countries. So it doesn't make any sense that the Tinubu administration is bent on implementing these policies wholesale. Nigerians are suffering massively. Look at the high cost of living. Look at the high cost of food, high cost of everything. Petrol price is about to be increased. Not just about to be increased. It's already selling about 900 naira per liter in Lagos State, where the petrol is being moved from to other parts of the country. Yes. Majority of the petrol consumed in Nigeria, about 99 or 100% of the petrol, are all imported, and they arrive at the Lagos ports before onward distribution to other parts of the country. So if filling stations in Lagos are already selling 900 naira per liter, what about filling stations in northern Nigeria, in southeast Nigeria, in many deep parts of the country? The statement by Adams Oshomole shows that the opposition is right. It's just that the people in power have refused to heed the advice. And the fact that he's in APC doesn't negate the fact that what he said is correct. So people shouldn't just throw it away. Adams Oshomole remains a very smart individual if you remember his days as the NLC president. Let's take a listen.
Liberal economic policies have failed Nigeria. I want to be able to see the president saying, yes, Africa growth, we have disagreements, but I am elected to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not of Africa Charter. We would relate with other countries. The days must be over when we talk of Africa as the centerpiece of our foreign policy, and way to one in which Nigeria and the welfare and the well-being of Nigeria is the central focus of Nigeria foreign policy. If it is not good for Nigeria, we will do it. How can you subscribe to something that you cannot participate in? How can you have a free market where you only buy but you have nothing to sell? And the only thing we have to sell is crude. And that crude is not determined competitively. It is determined by some forces in the West, whether the president of US is sick or whether the publish of data, it shows that economy is slowing down, that affects the price of oil, whether China is growing or China is slowing down, and all of that. And so the result is that today, we are importers of, from the lowest second-hand, we started borrowing. And to encourage us to borrow more, economists tell us about how much you can borrow in relation to GDP. They'll always have some statistics as if this were in the holy documents. And so we borrow to a point that they now came back and say, you have overborrowed. And for us to support you, you must devalue your currency. You must float it. Thus subsidize consumption. And when you devalue your home goods and services produced at home will be cheaper, and therefore you have greater export opportunities. Because Nigeria-made goods, we find cheaper prices overseas, and foreign goods will be too expensive for the natives to buy, since we are now in our native land. And because they can't buy, we've got to have a more realistic balance of trade. And that is how around 1978 or so, the Naira was devalued from where it was 1 Naira to 1.5 US dollars. When I went to UK to pay my school fees in the UK, I got my check from, I believe, Barclays Bank, which is now Union Bank. And I said, if indeed there is such thing as a visible hand, why do we elect a president? Why do we elect a government? The market, by its nature, is not accountable except to the buyer and the seller. But we elect governments that are accountable, that we should be held responsible for our collective well-being. And so when I heard him today say what he said, I said, then I'm not exactly crazy. So I am going to start my conversation, not a lecture, just a discussion the way we used to do under the village tree, you know, because my father was he's the greatest teacher, and my mom, assistant teacher. Between the two, everything I have, they are responsible. I think that if we take a critical look at where we're coming from, Nigeria was at its best when, I believe sensibly, and when we celebrate China, we just look at the outcome without looking at the system that produced that outcome. The Chinese also go to the World Bank. They also go to the IMF meeting. They listen. When they finish, they say thank you. They go back to Beijing and do what they call capitalism with Chinese Kawasaki 6. The interest rate is not market driven. The rate you change your money in hotel is the same rate you change it in the bank. I know it because I have been there. That is not market forces. That is state regulation. And when a state functionary abuse power, they execute. They kill. And so, without following Western models, China has become, over a period of 15 to 20 years, they had double-digit growth consistently, not based on market liberal models. When Washington insists that the Chinese currency is overvalued, the Chinese reply, it is not the foreigner who will tell us the value of our currency. In Nigeria, our people will go to the World Bank and IMF, they will tell us what they think we are. And we celebrate that fifth rate, what they call them now, they are these funny, not funny names, well-known names in West, that they have given us B+, B-, B+++. What the hell does it matter? We are to rate who we are, not foreigners. And until we return back to this homegrown policy and damn the consequences with the world, because they are going to fight us, I do not think that romancing with them is going to deliver us. No, it will not. And they will turn around to accuse us of corruption. And yet every kobo stealing are kept abroad is in their banks. But they are not corrupt. If we recognize that we were at our best when the Nigerian state make policies that are informed by the Nigerian condition, then let us revert back to that. If we don't, free market, this liberal, neoliberal economic policies that Amadi was speaking about, can never deliver prosperity to the majority of our people. It is based on the principle, whether stated or implied, survival of the fittest.